Hello, welcome to In Isolation with. Happy Thursday. I hope you're all having a good week. Thank you once again for joining us on Facebook and YouTube. As always, we're on Isolation Gigs Facebook page and our YouTube channel here, In Isolation. And we have got another fantastic guest lined up for you this week. Thank you again to Laura from Your Forte, who was with us last week. We had a great chat and with some good questions, and hopefully some people have been able to chat to Laura since then. She left her details, and we will do the same for our guest that we have this week, who is Alton Wahlberg, the bearded busker, and we'll be introducing him in a little while, in about 10 minutes or so, when he comes to join us. So Chloe is with us. Hello.
Hi.
All right, how's it going?
How's it going? Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm okay. I had a bit of a heavy day out yesterday, and
I think heavy day and night.
Heavy day and night, yeah. Visiting the beautiful Bury St Edmunds. So actually, it's relevant to this because our guest today is from Suffolk.
A lovely part of the world.
Lovely part of the world. Bury St Edmunds is very lovely. Stopped in at Cambridge on the way back to say hello, and
awesome.
Here we are. So we're back at our kind of evening show today.
Yeah, I think we're going to be. We're just going to be alternating, aren't we? Depending on what people can do.
Yeah, it'll either be lunchtime or evening, and where we go, pretty much.
Yeah, here we are.
What's your week been like?
What has my week been like? Quite busy, yeah. Actually, it always feels like ages ago when we look back over a week. I actually went to Bristol last weekend to catch up with a very good friend of mine. And then I was in London as well. And then I've been back home for the last few days, but I'm actually taking a last minute trip to Greece tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So I've been packing and sorting myself for that, which is very exciting. Can't quite believe I'm going to Greece.
That is, yeah.
But yeah, it'll be lovely.
It will.
I just want to add not to any of the places that are on the quarantine list.
So you won't be having to quarantine yourself.
No, I'm safe.
You'll be sitting on a beach instead.
Yeah. I mean, all I can really imagine is beach, sun, Greek salads, wine. I'm just vibing the simple things in life.
Do you like Greek salad?
I love a Greek salad.
Excellent.
Very good
food. Well, I'm off to Bristol tomorrow as well, actually.
I know, it's weird. It's weird. I haven't been to Bristol in years, and now I've gone, and now you're going.
Yeah, I haven't been for a couple of years either, and I've done a tour down there before a couple of times. So yeah, it'd be nice to go and see the Clifton Bridge, hopefully.
I actually didn't see that. I have seen it before, but I love that. It's really nice, isn't it?
It's cool. Yeah, I've not seen it either, actually.
Also, we're first.
Yeah, and we've already got a comment come in.
Have we?
Oh, the legend, the myth, the man, Mr. Sesh. He's one of our loyal followers on this channel.
He is. We do appreciate you, Mr. Sesh.
So, thank you, Mr. Sesh.
I'd quite like to understand. I mean, I can create some meaning around Mr. Sesh, but I wouldn't mind actually. Can we divulge the meaning behind that?
Well, we would probably have to get him on and ask him, because I think it's a nickname basically, based around certain activities that he likes to partake in.
I mean, it could be many things. So
it could be, yeah. And
we'll leave that open.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get him on one day, because it would be cool to have people that watch the channel come on occasionally.
We could do like a late night session.
Yeah, we could do a sesh for Mr. Sesh. But yeah, anyway, back to the kind of music industry and the arts and stuff.
Well, you're going to Bristol for a gig, aren't you?
We're doing a wedding, yeah. So
unreal.
And we're doing pop-up piano, which is pop-up piano hasn't really been out of the house this year. So,
do you want to let the listeners know what pop-up piano is a little bit more?
Yeah, so pop-up piano is like my wedding business, because as Alton does a lot of weddings, and you do some weddings as well, and yeah, so it's my business, which is but essentially a piano bar, pop-up piano bar, which you can take anywhere. Right. And people request the songs in a kind of good old kind of fashioned, you know, knees up kind of thing. But obviously, normally it's in a really nice, crowded kind of environment with people standing around, requesting songs, and I play them and I sing them, and then we have a good time. We've got to do it very differently with the COVID secure.
Yeah, how's that going to work?
Well, we've come up with quite a cool idea. So instead of people touching all the menus, because we normally put menus out on every table, so there's about 10 menus. We're going to have one menu with hand sanitizer next to it, and people are going to text the song choices so that we don't have to have any kind of interaction. I mean,
oh, nice.
It's sad because it goes against all the principles of pop-up piano to do it this way, because I'd normally be interacting with people, they'd be coming up to me, they'd be chatting, but
yeah,
we can't do that because it's against the restrictions, and so it's only a small wedding, 28 people, I think, which is again in the limit to what you're allowed. So yeah, it'll be pretty chilled compared to what it normally is. But
does that mean that you're just like willingly giving your number away to?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, if there's any nice single ladies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and luckily, there's not like 100 odd people at this wedding, because I think that would be crazy.
Manic, yeah.
But with a small group, I think it will work quite well, because people can just text their song, and I can play it if I know it.
Well, it's good you can adjust to the current situation, isn't it? Like, you know, you've got to find different ways to do it, and otherwise the work will just remain completely dry.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's impossible to plan a lot at the moment, because so many gigs are potential or in the mix, and then they just don't happen, or so. But it's good to have a gig, a wedding.
It's really nice. It's really nice.
Thank you very much to this Facebook user.
Oh, I've seen that's Alex Jones.
Oh, thank you, Alex. How are you doing? A friend of the podcast.
Yes. Gosh, it feels like a long time ago since you were on. That was way back, wasn't it? It
was way back in the early days of lockdown, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but
that whole lockdown period just kind of blurred into one big shmush. And,
it did, and not a lot has changed really. Like, bits and pieces have changed, and
not a lot's changed for our industry, let's be honest.
Not really, no. And this kind of rule of 6 thing is throwing everything again into kind of a weird kind of disarray.
Yeah. Then
I heard,
just take it as it comes.
I did hear someone was telling me they're doing a kids show in a theatre. 800 capacity, but they're allowing 135 people in.
Okay.
To the theatre, and it's like a 7. So what they've done, I think they're doing it over more days, so they can have 100 people a day.
They can make the money back that way.
Yeah. So 7 days rather than like 800 people in one go, which you can't obviously do.
Then that's gonna. I'm interested to know. They're still gonna be paying the artists for 7 days. So
yeah.
That's where it comes in. That's where it becomes tricky, doesn't it? Because it's like, okay, you can get the audience in over a period, but it's not just the artists, it's then the electricity, the running of the place. So, I mean, great though. Great they're trying, and that, I have seen a few different things that are happening. I think it's just I feel like between now and Christmas, there's going to be it's whatever you can experiment with is going to be being experimented with.
Yeah.
To see how feasible it is, and to see how much people can make it work. But yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's good. So I think we are in position now to be able to welcome our guests for this week.
Wonderful.
And we're really grateful to have Alton with us today. Alton is known as the Bearded Busker. He's a singer-songwriter, curator of a TV channel where he gives chances to people to come on and perform. He performs with them sometimes. I've seen many of the sessions, and they're really good. And recently he's told me he's also doing a bit of music lecturing. So as ever, a multifaceted guest. So, hello. Are we all good?
How
are you doing?
I'm good. How is everyone? All right?
Good.
Yeah,
Hi, Alton.
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah, we're good. Thanks for coming.
That's all right. No worries. I just literally made it. I've just ran in from college and just quickly chucked the phone on. So excuse the hair. It's all a bit of a mess.
No, you're all good. Come as you are. That is our motto here. Like we were just talking before we went live, and we were just like, I was like, I've just been packing and sorting stuff, and just like sat down and went, right, we're going. And Elliot was just like, yeah, I've been doing this, so it's just
the best way to be. I think sometimes you can over prepare. So
oh yeah,
yeah.
We definitely haven't done that.
We're pretty chilled.
Yeah. Where have you been then? Where have you come from?
I've just come straight in from college. I've been lecturing today in Cambridge. At Cambridge, I've just finished there and drove home and run in. So yeah, been a busy one, but it's all good.
Yeah,
is that at Cambridge Uni, actual Cambridge Uni?
It's Cambridge Regional College. So I'm working with the level 2 and 3 music performers and production group. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Hey, I think our sister went there for like a term.
She did, I think. Yeah. From memory.
Oh no.
Yeah, she didn't really want to study more. She moved to Italy instead. So after that,
that's not a bad bad idea.
Not a bad move.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing stuff at CRC?
So I started beginning of this year. I joined them in February. So I was there for about 3 or 4 weeks until we then got locked down. So obviously then that switched straight away from teaching at home and doing all sort of the online lectures and stuff. And the last couple of weeks we've just gone back into college again. So it's nice to be back in and actually making music, because there's only so much you can do through Zoom chats and things like that. So it's nice to be back in and physically be holding instruments and doing stuff. So it's really nice to be back. Yeah,
it must be so difficult. How many people do you lecture at a time, like generally?
Well, it's a little bit all over the place. It depends on the rooms we're in at the moment. Obviously, each room you're only allowed so many people in. So if only the smaller rooms are available, you can be doing it to groups of 10 or 12. Some of the bigger rooms we can have the full classes in. But again, it's all these crazy regulations and things that we've got to follow. As you know, you're well aware. You can't get away from them at the moment. So yeah, we just have to work with what we got, really.
Yeah, but that's quite difficult. Like even if you have at least 10 on a Zoom call, to try and actually, connect with them all and make sure you're actually making a difference.
It is difficult because they're teenagers as well, and they for a fact you start these Zoom calls, and if they don't have their camera on, then for a fact they're really listening to you. You're on in the background, and they're off doing other things. So kind of try and trip them up and kind of ask questions here and there just to double check they're all listening, but it's very hard, and most of the time you're just talking to a screen and you don't get that same, although I have to say they have been really, really good. I've been lucky that the students we've been working with have been really enthusiastic, and they have been brilliant. So but just nothing beats doing it in person and being there. There's only, like I say, there's only so much we can do when it comes to working with mixing desks and in the studio, setting up mics and setting up things. You just can't do that at home and through a laptop. You have to actually be there. So it has been an interesting time, but it's nice that things are slowly starting to go back to normal in that respect with the college.
Yeah, and does it feel like things will? I know everything can change in in an instant at the moment, but being there, does it feel like things will kind of continue for this term, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The college are good. They've put all the regulations in place, and they are really working hard to protect the students and the staff. So it's all sort of face masks and social distancing and one-way systems everywhere. They're doing everything they can to keep the students in and keep everything under control. So, and that's all we can do. That's all anyone can do, really, isn't it? With them, we're down to just hoping that the rest of the country does the same and we can get out of this quick.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's all we can do.
It's was it a like a smooth transition to go into teaching? Was it something that you kind of were doing anyway, or
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it felt like a natural kind of progression. I had set up my own from my own little project where I was working with young musicians anyway. And I was helping them build their social media channels. I was helping them produce promotional material and stuff. So it was just kind of that natural progression, doing it as a bit of a sort of a hobby for a bit of fun, and just to support them, to actually doing it in a bit more of a structured professional way. I mean, I had taught before. I taught in prisons for 10 years, and
wow.
so I had some experience of teaching anyway, even though it wasn't teaching music. I used to teach fitness qualifications, fitness instructor, personal trainer qualifications. So I had the experience of teaching. And so, yeah, it just felt like a natural progression. It was kind of mixing the two things that I love doing. I loved teaching. I loved that part of working in the prison. I loved that part of it, doing the construction things and trying to help people and improve, you know, give them opportunities for when they leave. So I loved that part of it. And obviously I love the music side of it. So this was just a nice way of kind of tying them two things together. So it felt just like a natural progression. So and I love it. It's good. There's nothing beats being involved in music all day, every day.
Yeah.
That's really
it.
cool.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, what was there sort of a moment where you felt, okay, so helping kids to develop is where I need to go, like, or as you said, it was quite natural, but like what led you that way? Because obviously you could teach lots of different people.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason I started working with young musicians in the first place was purely because when I started playing music, there was just no one to help. And as much as I would ask people, I would look at the people who were kind of playing the better gigs than me and had the bigger following, and I would ask them and sort of say, you know, what advice can you give me? What should I be doing? How can I build this? How can I do that? And there was just no one to really go out their way to help. Most people, you would not even get a reply. If you did, you'd get a real sort of just a generic, "Oh, keep plugging away, mate." And that didn't really help, you know. So I think, and for a few years, I was trying just to find someone to give me a bit of advice and a bit of guidance. And obviously, in the end, over the years, you find your own way and you kind of learn all these things for yourself. But I always think if someone was there in the early stages, just to give me that little nudge in the right direction, it could have, you know, who knows what might have happened. Like, I mean, I didn't really go into music seriously till I was, you know, till I was about 30. I mean, I'd played music in bands and I'd done it as a hobby and I'd done it as a bit of fun. But it wasn't until I just reached 30 that I decided, right, I think I actually want to take this seriously and make a living doing it. So I always think if someone would have pushed me when I was, you know, 16, 17 years old, would it have been different then? You know, because obviously I'm a very late starter to the music game. And, you know, yourself, it is very much a young person's game. I mean, there's opportunities, of course, for everyone. But if you are looking to sort of have a long, sustainable career, then music is really a young person's game, predominantly. And so I think if I can just give them a little nudge, just because there was no one to help me. So I think if I could be the one just to help them and share a bit of my experience, like I say, even though it took me a long time to do it professionally, I still was around music for years. I've been around. I played ever since when I was at school. I played in the school band, and so I've always been a part of the music scene. So I've learned a lot over the years. Obviously, developing my social media channels and things as well has given me a lot of sort of insight into how that whole world of marketing and you know, social media works. So it's just nice to be able to pass that on and give these youngsters a little bit of a nudge and a bit of a point in the right direction. So that's the main reason that it all started. And actually I found myself, it kind of breathed a new sort of life into my music as well, because I get excited now if these young musicians come and say, will you come and play a song with me? I love it, because some of them, they're so talented. There's so much talent out there, and it's just nice to be a part of that. And I think, you know what, it's lovely that just to be involved in their journeys as well, and I get to play still, and I get to do what I love to do with them. So it's great. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it must be really rewarding. I feel like it's a really current thought of mine to want to support the younger performers, because I'm a dancer and singer, and I just, it's sort of definitely somewhere I want to head, because I just think,
I mean, the other thing is, for me, like I say, I mean, I'm knocking on a little bit now compared to these youngsters, and I think, how much longer can I do this for a living? You know, I mean, I've gigged, I gig every weekend, I gig around the country, and I love it.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where I think, have I got another 20 years of this in me? I've done it a long time, and it is hard. But you know yourselves how hard it is. You know, people only see the little bits of you at a gig. They don't see everything that goes on behind it, and how you get the gigs, and how you're constantly promoting and working and creating music and recording, all the whole stuff that they don't see. It's hard work, and you work long hours, and then you go and gig, and you're driving late nights. You know, you're finishing playing these gigs sometimes midnight, 1 a.m, packing up, driving every weekend, all year round. And I think to myself, have I got another 20 years in me? And I just don't know. So it's nice to be able to have this option now, where if I want to wind down a little bit with the gigs, I can, because I've got the teaching, and I've got the college, and I've got that. So I've still got my income, and still got a bit of a career to sort of think about as well. So it's nice to be in this place. I feel like I'm in quite a nice place now, where I can kind of pick and choose. And at the moment, I'm still doing as much music as I possibly can. I love it. But I just think, planning in the long term, this is nice to have this to fall back on.
Yeah, it's a really, that's something I've thought about myself as well. I do a little bit of teaching and stuff, but yeah, you do get to that kind of point in that age, and you go, yeah, I want to do something else as well, because I still love music.
And you know, the appeal wears off a little bit. I mean, the older you get, the appeal, you know, do people really want to go and listen to a 50-year-old man sitting in the corner of the pub playing? And do you think the gigs are going to start getting harder and harder to come by, and the appeal wears off? So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of forward planning for the future. And as long as I can still be involved in music somehow, that's all I can ask, because I don't want to ever do anything else. I want to be involved in music somehow. So if I can't play for the rest of my life, then at least I can be in part of doing it with other people and helping them. So it's good.
Also, I feel like you know, we all got into music, performing, whatever it is, because we loved it, and because it, you know, it was like a release and a way of expressing ourselves. And I think also, as you get older, you don't want to lose that. So sometimes if the career becomes, you know, so, especially with the situation we're in right now, but like if that becomes harder, it's like you do just want to make sure that I don't want to lose my love for what.
Absolutely. And, you know, I said that from day one. When I started off, I always said, especially when I started taking it seriously and trying to make a living from it, I always said, when the day comes that I don't want to go and gig, when I'm tired and I think I don't want to do this and I've lost that love for it, that's when I know it's time to go. And I haven't got to that point yet, but you're only ever one Wonderwall request away from packing it in. And I've got a feeling that will be the day that I go, I can't do this anymore. That final Wonderwall request comes in. When I know, that's it. Come on.
That'd be it. And you do quite a cool thing. I think I've seen you do it. Do you like set a price where people have to do, so you play Wonderwall?
That's what it's come down to.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Alternate is brilliant.
So Wonderwall now has a bounty. So whenever I go and play places, whenever someone requests Wonderwall, they have to beat the previous bounty. So it started off as a bit of a joke. Someone said, "I'll give you $5 if you play it." So I said, "Yeah, all right." And then the week after, I was in the same place, and the same person said to me, "I'll play Wonderwall again." And I said to him, "You know, I said, you gave me a $5 last week. You're gonna have to give me more this week if you want me to play it." So he said, "I'll give you £6." So I said, "All right." So I played it. And I thought, then I realised, I'm onto something here. So every time someone asked, the bounty went up and up and up each time. And the money I earn, I put back into my little community project that I do with the youngsters, because that's totally voluntary. I don't charge the youngsters anything that I work with the AWN TV thing. So any money that I make through the Wonderwall request goes in a little jar, so that when we need new cameras or new lights, you know, I've got it there for that. So it is for a good cause. But the bounty is now up to £92.
Wow.
So if anyone requests Wonderwall, they have to pay £92 in order to play, which is funny because people still try. They have a little whip round in the pub and they take the little hat round and try and earn the money just to get me to play Wonderwall. And that's a win-win for me, because that means if they make the money, then that's brilliant. My project gets a bit of money. If they don't make it, I don't have to play it. So I can't lose.
So someone has actually paid 90. The last person that got you to play it,
yeah, it wasn't one person. They had a whip round in the pub, because as the bounty went up, you know, people realised, well, we'll have to all put a £5 in, or we'll have to all put a few quid in. And the last whip round, they got to £91.
And is this always in the same pub, or is this various?
No, this is wherever I go, and I always have to explain the story as well.
Yeah.
Someone will say, I have to go, right, hang on, I'll tell you the story. I have to explain what it's all about. And then it's down to them whether they want to do a whip round. Like I say, some people, they love the fact that it's supporting the youngsters, and I think a lot of people do it for that. I think a lot of people now don't actually want to hear it, but they like to kind of make a bit of money because they've seen the project I do and they support it. So it's become a bit of a funny thing and a bit of a joke and a bit of a laugh, but it's all good because it supports that little project. And
it's really lovely.
Yeah, it is nice, like I say. And then it means even if I do have to play it, at least I'm getting something for it now, you know. 20 years of playing the same song is hard work.
It's so funny because I've never experienced that, but Elliot's always spoken about that, and he's just like not Wonderwall.
People, you know, something. When I do joke about it, I honestly, if I ever put anything on Facebook or anything about it, I always get that one like avid Oasis fan who thinks I'm having a go at the song, and they're like, "Oh, what have you ever done?" And they get really get the right ump with me. You know, why are you having a go at that song? And I don't hate the song. It's a cracking song. You know, it's brilliant. It's just the fact that it was the first song I ever learned to play when I started playing the guitar. Like, well, the first song I ever played in a band, really. So, like, sort of 20 years ago that came out. So 20 years ago, I started playing that song in bands, and it's the most requested song. I mean, as soon as anyone sees someone with an acoustic guitar, it's the first thing that goes in their head. It's like a natural reflex. Play Wonderwall. So you just get it everywhere. And when you're gigging 3 or 4 or 5 times a week sometimes, and you get that every single night, all year round, someone asking for that song, it just does grate at you a little bit. And it's not that I don't like the song, it's just the fact that I don't want to keep playing it.
Well, not if there's not a decent cause at the end of you playing it, like you said.
But we always have a bit of a laugh, and you know, everyone sings along, and there's definitely worse songs out there, so it is all a bit of a joke, a bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, I completely get that, and there's a few piano songs that I get asked for all the time as well.
Oh, I can imagine.
And it's it like you say, it's not that you hate the song. I actually really like the songs, but when you've played them millions of times.
What's your most requested piano one then?
Definitely Piano Man.
Yeah, I was going to say
Billy Joel.
Piano Man.
Yeah, and I don't mind it, but it's got about 6 verses. So when you do it,
it's a long song, isn't it? It's a long song.
You know that it's gonna be like a really long part of it.
It's the same American Pie is another one I get a lot. American Pie, and again, that's a similar thing. It's about a 15-minute song.
Yeah,
so take some of the verses out. I can't.
American Pie goes on a right little journey, doesn't it? So it's a lot to that one.
Again, it's another one. It's always good fun. People sing along, and that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? So
it's good. I really like the setup you've got. Is that studio you've got where you do the videos? Because I've seen quite a few of them. Is that in your house, or is that?
Well, we bought our house a couple of years back now, and it had an old, really old sort of just tin barn at the end of the garden. Which, quite honestly, when we bought the house, we were just going to knock this little tin barn thing. We were going to knock it down and just, you know, get rid of it. But then decided, you know what, it'd be a nice little area just to have set up a little stage and a little practice area kind of thing, because it was just an old derelict tin shed, basically. And just as I started using it a bit more, I thought, actually, it's quite cool to set up some lights. And then it looks really cool because you've got all the old wooden panels and stuff everywhere. Yeah. And it's just a nice space where you're away from everyone and away from the neighbours and the house. So it doesn't matter if you make a bit of noise in there. So yeah, it was nice to once I put the lights in there and made it look quite nice. I just thought this is quite a nice little area to work from, and it looks good on camera and everything sounds good and I can do everything. The only downside of it is there's no electricity in there.
So how do you deal with that then?
I just have to run everything off of one extension lead from my house. Run an extension lead off from the house and run it. That's the only downside of it. So I'm fairly limited with how much I can actually do in there off of one extension cable.
Yeah.
But eventually, again, this is where the Wonderwall money comes in handy, because eventually, you know, I'll be able to actually put electric in there and pay someone to come and actually run it from my house so that I can have some plug sockets and some power in there. And that's what that money's for. You know, that Wonderwall money is so that I can do that. So it'll only benefit all the people that come and use it. Like I say, I never charge anyone for coming to use it. I always say to any of the youngsters, anyone who contacts me, you know, I've got this area, I've got this space, and I'll happily record you playing music in there. I don't charge them for it. So it's nice that I can use that and I can do that. So yeah, any money that gets made, I can hopefully eventually get some proper electric put in there and turn it into, fingers crossed, a proper nice studio one day, as opposed to an old tin barn. But
yeah, that's honestly so generous of you, I think. And it's so needed right now. It's, you know, it's this, whatever, I mean, you've been doing it before all this, but it's just so needed. People need that support. People need that, like,
yeah,
you know, definitely, place to turn to help develop and feel supported and guided and stuff. So
yeah, and it's nice. And you know, music is such a massive outlet, you know. And I think I find a lot of people contact me, and sometimes it's not because they want to be a musician and they want to spend the rest of their lives doing it. I think they just want to have some company and have someone to play music with. That's what music does, you know. It does. It brings people together. And if you're feeling down or you're struggling or you're going through hard times, I get a lot of people who have anxiety problems and all sorts who contact me and just want to come and find someone and somewhere they can just come and play and let off steam for a couple of hours. So there's a lot of times that I'm using it and I'm sitting up there playing, and we're not always recording stuff and making stuff. Sometimes we are just sitting there and having a little jam, because it's what people need. It's what music's all about, and I like it. You know, I love it. I love meeting new musicians and just jamming and playing new songs. So it's nice to do that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and there is some really talented musicians that you've had down there. I've seen them. It amazes me. Some of them are so kind of young, but they've got such kind of great ability already. And it's like, I guess, and you're giving them a platform.
This is it, and it would be such a waste if they weren't being seen. And I mean, you know how hard it is now to build a social media following. It's so hard. It's harder than it was 2 years ago. I mean, even 2 years ago, it was easier to reach people with your videos, but now with having to pay for advertising and just the pure amount of competition, it's so hard for these people to build these platforms. And I think some of them are so good and they deserve to have hundreds and thousands of people watching their videos, but they're just struggling to get it. And when you're 15 and you haven't even got a Facebook page, and you know, you can't be seen. It's so hard. You have to be kind of involved in it and know how it all works to have even a hope of trying to reach people. And I think that's a massive thing as well. I think just the fact that, one, I can actually sit and record with them, but two, I can put it out on my page where I have got a nice little following, or I have spent a lot of time building it up. So it just gives them a bit of exposure as well. So the ones who do want their videos and their music to be seen, you know, rather than put it on their page and only get it seen by 100 people, they can put it on my page and it can end up being seen by 10,000 people and more. You know, the one I did earlier on this week, I did one with a young 15-year-old, Emily May Lynch, her name was.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, she come and again, she's brand new to kind of the whole scene and the whole Facebook. She's got such an incredible voice, and her song is now up to about 10,000 views. Awesome. Which she would have never got doing that on her own page, kind of thing. So it's nice that I've got the opportunity to help them and offer that, and you know, that's what it's all about. That's what it's for. That's what I would have done anything for that when I started, just for someone to say, here's a bit of exposure, here's a bit of this, you know, and not try and charge me loads of money for it and rip me off. I'd have done anything just for someone to help.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to do that now. I like it.
And then, in terms of building your following, like, how long would you say you've been doing that for, and kind of how did you do that?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually, when I was talking about it, I was actually delivering a lesson yesterday in college about social media and how to build your profiles. And when I mentioned that, you know, when I first started out, I was using this platform called MySpace, and they all looked at me like, what is that? What are you talking about? But that's how long ago it was. I started building my stuff way back when MySpace was a thing and Facebook wasn't even about. So I've always kind of had this thing of trying to reach people and putting this up. And obviously when Facebook came along, it was from day one, it was a very nice, easy way to sort of reach more people. So yeah, I've always been involved in it. I've always been doing it for as long as I can remember. Ever since playing music, there's always been trying to find ways to get your music out there. And this is the golden age for that. You know, this is what I tell these youngsters. You don't know how lucky you are. The fact that everything you need is there. You know, you've got a phone in your pocket, and that's everything you need to reach these massive audiences. When I started out, you know, 20 years ago, I could not in a million years could I dream that one of my songs would reach 10,000 people. You know, that would be impossible because there was no such thing as Facebook. There was no such thing as, honestly, this is how old I am. When I started out, I don't even think the internet was a thing.
Yeah.
So the only chance that we would have is if we got on the radio or got on telly. That's it. And as an unsigned artist, well, you wouldn't stand a chance. So there was nothing I could have done when I was 16 years old to get my music heard by that many people. But these guys, these youngsters these days have got the power right in their pocket to do it wherever they are, anytime, any place, and they've got the power to reach that many people. So they're in this golden age, and it's really exciting for them. So yeah, I kind of wish I was 16 now.
But like, how amazing is it that you've gone through that journey, and it might be a very long one, but now you can hopefully, as you say, help them sort of jumpstart and get there, and get sort of that momentum going a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the key. What I kind of always explain to me, it's not about the numbers. My following isn't massive. There's so many people with more followers than me. Bigger followers, more followers on Facebook, more followers. It's not about the numbers. It's just about how you can make the people who do follow you engage, and how you can kind of get them involved in your journey. And that's why I'm so lucky, is the people who follow my page, they're not just random people doing it just for the hell of it. They are people who actually support my journey. They're the people who do watch my videos, and they do comment, and they want, my followers like to support the youngsters as well, which is why it works, because they like to give them advice, and they like to sort of get involved in their career, and that's just why it works so well for them. Because my following isn't enormous, but they are dedicated, and I'm lucky that I've built this passionate following who engage and are interested in the stuff that we do. So that's half the battle, and that's another thing that I try and teach these youngsters. A lot of them go chasing the numbers, and a lot of them want a million subscribers and a million this, and I sort of say to them, that's all good, but if they're not watching your stuff, then it's irrelevant having them. So you have to build relationships with your followers, and that takes time. That takes years. I mean, you look back over my Facebook page now, and you'll see that I've probably posted up something every day for probably the last 10 years. There's always something going on my page, and sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's a picture, sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's just an advert of where I'm gigging, but there's always something going on, and it takes years to build that sort of following where people know every time they look on your page they're going to be entertained with something, and that's the key. That's how you do it, really. Then it takes time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to kind of keep doing it.
And it takes a certain type of person to want to engage and relate and connect. You're not just doing it selfishly, like you want to make a difference.
One of the things I'm really actually proud of, and one of the things I kind of do pride myself on, is I read every single comment. So I don't just put something up there and forget about it. So like Emily's video that we posted last week, I read every single comment that goes on there, and I try and reply, and I try and engage with people and just say, thanks for watching, and try and sort of see what they want next. And it's so time consuming, but that's the whole point of it. There would be pointless of me putting something up there and not looking what people are saying and not caring what they think. But again, that's a full-time job in itself sometimes.
You can only do your best, around other life stuff.
I think it's a really good message to tell young musicians that it is about cultivating that following rather than having the big numbers. It more is
100%. And I say to them, you're better off having 100 people who watch and engage than 10,000 that couldn't care less if you were there or not. And they get it. I think these youngsters they do get it, and I think they'll see the benefits just by spending a bit of time doing that. I just had a thought. It must be hard being that age as well, in a sense of you can see that there's the potential to have, like, say, 1 million or more followers. So in a way, they're kind of like, and there's so much stuff of make this happen overnight. There's all this stuff. So there'll be an impatience there, and that's something I guess that you'd have to work on with them, just to, tap into the right parts of them so that they do learn how to engage with the people and build. Absolutely. And there's a lot of pressure on these youngsters as well. There's a lot of competition and a lot of pressure, and they're always and it's one of the things I hear them say most is, how many have you got, how many have you got, almost comparing, like, oh, if you've got more that must mean you're better. And it's not the case. And that's something I try and drive into them is, just because somebody's got that, it doesn't mean they're better than you or you're better than them if you've got more. That's not what it's about. Music, this trying to drive that mentality is the hardest thing I found with working with musicians. Is lots of musicians think that we're all competing with each other.
No.
When we're not competing, we're all part of the same thing, all chasing the same. And just because someone's watching your music, well, they can still watch mine as well.
Exactly.
So we're not competing. We should be working together, and we should be, you know, working with each other and supporting each other. It's the only way to sort of get anywhere is to build your networks. And so it's not about competing who has the most followers and who gets the most views. It's about how can we help each other get more views. That's the biggest thing I found working with musicians, is trying to overcome that hurdle, because it is just the nature of what we do. Is we are constantly comparing ourselves to other people and thinking, well, why aren't I getting that, and why are they getting that but not me? And and you can't look like that, because there's always going to be someone who's got more than you. And if you let it get to you and you let it get you down, then you end up doing stuff for the wrong reasons, putting content out to chase numbers, as opposed to putting content out because it's valuable to the people who are watching you.
Well, it's about a mindset of either you're in a mindset of abundance or you're in a mindset of lack, aren't you? And I think, you know, it's totally your point of we're all here to help each other. There's enough opportunity for all of us. And if we do, you know, if we don't think like that, then you're just thinking, there's just a few things and only a few people can get it. And it's just not the case. Like, there's always opportunity.
Yeah. And it's nice that when you see people get that, and what I love to see is especially with the youngsters I work with in my little project, I love it when they leave my little studio, and then a couple of weeks later I see them working with someone who was coming there a few weeks before, and I think, all right, this is great, because that's what it's about. You know, they've now found another person their age who they're now working together with, doing collaborations and playing gigs with, and I love seeing that, because I think, right, that's it, you get it now, you know. And if you get it at 16, there's a good future for you, you know, because it takes people years to work that out.
Definitely.
I definitely wish I had some of these kind of pearls of wisdom when I was kind of starting.
Well, I do. Like I say, these are the things I wish I knew when I started out, because for years I was the same. For years I was chasing numbers, I was looking at other people, I was constantly comparing myself, wondering what I was doing wrong and why weren't people liking me and why weren't doing this. And for years I did the same. And like I say, I wish I knew. I wish someone sat me down at 16 years old and told me this is actually how it works. But there was just no one to do that then. So and I think it's brilliant. I think those sessions are great, and something we've spoken about on this podcast, because we started it during lockdown, so we have spoken a lot about lockdown. But we certainly found that it was, although it was a hard time for everyone, especially in music and the arts, there was so much more collaboration going on because of that, and it was really good to see, and it's really good to see that actually I've seen quite a few projects carrying on afterwards as well. And did you find yourself doing a lot of stuff in lockdown? Obviously, I think you've been quite busy, haven't you, in general? But I mean, obviously throughout the whole of lockdown, I mean, my college lessons were still going ahead, so I was teaching online. So I was still teaching, I was still doing my college. So it wasn't as if at any point I sat down and had like loads of time to myself, because I was teaching during the day, and then I was working on a new EP. So I was trying to write music and try and write and record and learn the whole process of self-production and mixing and mastering. So I was doing all that as well. So lockdown kept me busy. As well as that, I was trying to do my live gigs as well, just to keep gigging. I mean, you know yourself how important it is just to keep gigging, keep ticking over. So even just doing Facebook live gigs was something that was really important to me, because I wanted to keep that momentum of gigging and just that whole feeling of, all right, just because we're in lockdown, we can still gig, we can still play to crowds. And actually I found the interaction from the live gigs was just as good, if not better, than playing, because sometimes you can go to gigs, you can play in pubs and no one's listening, and they're all chatting at the bar and playing pool, whereas in your live gigs they're sitting there watching you, so they're listening and you get the engagement. So they were really important to keep doing that for me. So I was doing my live gigs as well as everything else, so there wasn't much time like to realize for me, you know, lockdown was just working from home as opposed to working elsewhere. Well, there was no downtime really. Which is good. I like that, because I still felt, you know, I'd have been lost 6 months without any music. I'd have been lost. I just don't know what I'd have done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it would have been terrible. And I really agree about the interaction on the comments. We both found it on our gigs. I actually really liked coming offline as well and then reading the comments and replying to people, because like you say, when you play, you might speak to 2 or 3 people, but you never really would speak to 20 or 30 people.
Yeah, and I would do the same. And I would drive my wife mental, because I'd play the gig for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I'd finish the gig, and then I'd sit on my phone for the next 2 hours, reading all the comments and replying to them. She'd be like, "What are you doing now? You've just been doing it for 2 hours." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I want to see what they're saying." And so I'd end up doing the same thing. And it was really cool to see that. Yeah, really cool to get that feedback. And it was, the other thing I loved watching people talking to each other. Because I was they can't be in the same house, and some of them are family members or friends who haven't seen each other for so long. But my gig was bringing them together, and they're giving them a chance to have a chat and talk to each other. And I thought, that's what these live gigs are about. They're about bringing all these people who can't see each other, and just this common ground of music brings everyone together and gets everybody in the right frame of mind and talking. And yeah, that was really cool. I loved it. In fact, I liked it so much. I'm actually doing another one tomorrow night, even though we're back out gigging now. All right, still only outside, but I'm still now starting to pick up some gigs and get back out on the circuit.
That's good.
But I'm doing another one this Friday night, just because they're so much fun. I've kind of missed it, because since lockdown ended, I went straight back out to the pubs and the beer gardens and everywhere else, and I did the gigs out there. And so it's going to be quite nice this Friday to sit down in my living room and go back to doing that and getting that interaction. So, I think it's the future for music. I see a lot of musicians doing that, certainly in the short term, whilst we still can't gig indoors. And who knows what's going to happen, even when these venues do open. Capacity is going to be limited, and that means opportunities are going to be limited. So I think the live gigs are something that's going to go on for quite a long time still.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I find them really fun as well. I'm definitely going to carry on doing them, because there is something in just they're different, aren't they? And they're fun to do.
And you know what the other thing is, I find as well, it doesn't matter if you're playing it doesn't, when I look at in the corner and see how many people are watching, to me, I don't care if it's 10 people or 200 people watching.
Yeah.
If there's someone watching, it means that someone's sitting there listening to you. Like I say, when sometimes you can go into a pub and the pub can be full, but not one person is actually listening to you. They're all just getting on with their own thing, and you feel like you're sitting there on your own. Whereas with the Facebook Lives, you know that the person, whoever it is that's watching, as long as there's a number, as long as they've got at least one person on there watching you've got someone who's listening to you and someone who wants to hear your music. So that's quite nice to have, I think.
Yeah. Oh, you're making me miss it. I haven't done one now for a little bit, so I want to get back to it.
Hopefully it's giving you inspiration. Get out and do another one.
Yeah, I mean, we did. I did these Sunday sofa sessions with my dad, because I've been living at home, and it's great. We did it for like a good chunk of months. And yeah, then I think, as you say, things changed. Things started to open up a bit more, and you realise, people are going to be out the weekends a bit more and stuff. But like you say, it doesn't really matter if there's 1 or 100 people, because at least, and if you want to do it and you want to share, there'll be someone there that wants to support and get something from you. So
yeah, absolutely. And you're kind of I think I met you a few years ago. I think Homegrown Festival, you were kind of running the stage, and you've always been a really like proactive kind of figure on the scene, which is really great. And you were kind of known as the kind of bearded busker, weren't you? For a while. Do you still get to go out and busk, or is it just not enough time really? Or
do you know, just before lockdown, I had just started getting out and going again. I hadn't done for probably been a couple of years since I could get out. I think obviously it's difficult. I never. The funny thing was with busking is I never busked because I did it I didn't do it because I was desperate for money or anything like that. I did it because I just loved being outside playing to people, and I loved the interaction and the people you meet. Like busking, honestly, some of the characters I've met over the years have just given me so much joy, and just, you never know what you're going to get. It's exciting busking, and so, it's something I always said I'll keep doing busking, and I'll do it as much as I can, just because I love the people you meet. I love the places you get to go. Like, I would quite often just disappear somewhere for a few days. I would just tell my wife, I'm going away, I'm just disappearing. I'd drive to like Leeds or Manchester or Birmingham, and then I'd do a day busking there, and then I'd go to Derby the next day, and I'd just do a few days of knocking around places I've never been before, just to busk. And even that is great, because you see things and you see different people, and you're playing your music and you're reaching new audiences, and so I always loved busking. It just got to the point where when you're gigging 3, 4, sometimes 5 nights a week, your voice needs a bit of a break.
Yeah.
So that's why I stopped busking. It wasn't because I didn't want to go, or it wasn't because I was making money elsewhere and I wasn't doing it for that. It was because I needed to give my voice a couple of days a week where I could just rest and not sing. Because, you know, these gigs are long gigs, 2-3 hour gigs, 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
It's brutal on your throat. So for a couple of years I stopped it, but then the beginning of this year I kind of really made a conscious effort just to get out and do it. So I went a couple of times early on in the year, just before lockdown, but then obviously that happened, and then it threw everything up into the air, and haven't been out busking again since. But hopefully before long I'll get out again.
Yeah,
you sound like so busy. I'm just trying to like piece how you fit all this in.
It's mental. I don't
like
stop.
How often do you teach?
Say again?
How often do you teach?
I do 3.5 days a week at the college. So I do 3.5. Yeah, so 3.5 days a week at the college. But then on the day off, the day I'm not in college, I teach guitar from home. So I have some students. I do some private tutoring at home on the day when I'm not in college, and then the weekends are dedicated to the gigs in the evenings and stuff. So yeah, it's busy. It's busy. But music is one of those things that it never feels like work. I never. When I go out gigging, I don't ever consider that as a day's work. Like I say, I worked in a prison for 10 years, so I know what work is like when you're doing long 13-hour shifts and then doing overtime, and then in a job you don't really like or really want to do. So I've done that, and I know what it's like to work. So now doing this, yeah, it sounds busy, but it never ever feels like work. A Friday and a Saturday night gig is not work to me. That's just fun, and if I get paid for it, it's brilliant. You know, it's just turning a hobby. Because if I weren't getting paid for it, I'd probably go out and do it for free anyway, because it's so much fun. So and you know, I did that for years. When I started, I would gig for free. You know, like most people do when they start off. We all play open mics, and we all play festivals where we don't get paid.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's never feels like work. It's fun. It's a hobby, and it's something. And if you can make money for it, you know, what's better than that?
Absolutely. And do you gig with anyone else, or is it always solo stuff?
No, not anymore. It's all solo now. I used to do the band. I used to do the band. And the bands were great fun. Don't get me wrong. I loved every minute of playing in the bands. But you know, wherever you go and get play, you get paid. You have to divide it 5 or 6 ways. And then you've got. And then you've got petrol money. Someone's got to drive the minibus or whatever. And then if you're gigging, like we would quite often with the band, we gig around the country. We even around Europe. I used to play around Europe with the band. So then you've got your travel, you've got your hotels, and you never really make much money. And I never made much money. Anything I did make, we spent on beer and stuff. And so the bands wasn't really a career that I felt I could do. Whereas the solo thing is so much easier, because obviously you take the gigs you want to take, you gig when you want. You know, the money that you earn, you don't have to split it 6 ways. You're not tempted to go and spend it all on beer afterwards because there's no one with you. It's just you. So I think that's why I just do the solo thing now, because now I do it like when it's your living. It's so much easier just to do it by yourself, I think. Although it gets lonely at times. I miss that whole camaraderie of being in the band. But I'm not saying I'd never do it. One day I might, you know, do the band thing again. But for now, I'm quite happy just doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's a really varied existence, and it's really great. And I used to play in bands as well, and I know exactly what you mean. Like, I'd love to take a band on tour around the country, but it's just so hard to finance, and you know,
and even to find people on your same wavelength is very difficult. And if you're in a band, you need 4 or 5 people on that same wavelength. And part of the reason why I left, I had my children quite young. I was 24 when I had my boy, and all the other band members, they didn't have kids. So I was always the one who I couldn't make a practice because I had to look after my boy, or I couldn't do that gig because it's his birthday, or he's got a school play, or I couldn't stay out that night because I had to get home because the wife was going to work in the morning or something like that. So I was always the one who was kind of getting in the way of their lifestyle. And although they were brilliant, they never said anything about it. I always felt like I was kind of dragging them down a little bit, and they were quite restricted because it was me causing all the issues. So again, that's why part of the reason I went solo, just because I wasn't letting anyone down. If it's the boys' sport day, I can go, and I'm not letting anyone else down. You know what I mean? So that's part of the reason I kind of left that as well.
Was it difficult to navigate having a child so young and being in the industry that you're in? Or?
Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, I probably didn't do a good job of it the first few years. And I always, even to this day, I always apologise to my wife, because it must have been difficult for her, because I would be, at the time, I'd be working in the prison 5 days a week. Yeah. And then I'd finish on Friday, and I'd drive straight from work to a gig on Friday night, and we could be playing in Belgium or somewhere, and then we'd drive through all day Saturday to get to a gig in Wales on Sunday, and then I'd drive home Sunday night, chuck my gear in the garage, you know, throw a set of clothes on, and go to work Monday morning. So for the first couple of years, like, I didn't see much of my wife, and I didn't spend as much time with my boy as I should have done. At the time, you do get caught up in it, but I've definitely, you know, I learned quite quickly. I'm missing out here, and people are suffering because of this lifestyle, and I'm missing the chance to spend more time with my children. And so, I think that's, as soon as I realised and the solo career kicked off, it just helped me massively, because, like I say, I was in charge of where I was going and what I was doing, and I could just dedicate that bit more time to it. And so I think it took me a little while to work that out. And I like I say, I still apologise to my wife and say, I'm so sorry. I didn't realise how bad it was. But you do. You get at 24, you get caught up in it. And I was lucky at the time. I was playing in a Killers tribute band. So we were playing big festivals across Europe, big tribute festivals. You know, we could be playing in front of, you know, we had thousands of people would come to some of these festivals. You know, a success, and we played the big stages, and there's nothing gives you a bigger buzz than, you know, when Mr. Brightside kicks in and 10,000 people are bopping on like that. And it was amazing.
Wow.
We weren't even the Killers. We were just a tribute band. But, so you definitely got caught up in that buzz of feeling like, this is the rock and roll lifestyle. And it was hard to give that up a little bit, knowing that I was going to go from that to sitting in a corner in a pub playing to 6 people. So it took a little bit of getting used to, but I'm glad that I did, and I'm happier for it, and I hope the family are happier for me doing it as well.
Yeah, wow, yeah. That's a big turning point. 24 is young though, like, you know, that's almost where you're like, lap it all up, but then, you know, you had. Well, life had other plans for you, which
that's it. I wouldn't change it. You know, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's been brilliant. You know, and I was lucky. I still got to do that. My wife was brilliant. She never kicked up a fuss. She never stopped me doing what I wanted to do. When I did stop it, it was because I wanted to stop it, and it's because I realised that it's time. She could have said at the start, you know, stop doing that. I'm not happy with that. But she was so supportive, and she was like, go and do your thing, and I'll crack on here. So I was lucky. I could have gone horribly wrong, and if she wasn't quite so understanding, she could well have just given me the boot. but yeah, it was good times, and I still got to do it. I still got to experience it. So yeah, no regrets.
Awesome.
And now are you producing, because you've got an EP. Just came out in July, didn't it? I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you producing all on your own now?
Yeah, that was the first one that I did everything. In the past, I've kind of had help during the mixing, mastering, recording process. My album that I brought out last year was my first one with Ginger Dog Records. So I had an actual record label who kind of took over most of the work. I would just turn up in the studio, a bit of guitar, a bit of vocals, and then sit back and watch them work the magic.
Yeah.
So this was the first one where I wanted to learn the whole process. So it was a bit of an experiment to kind of see if I could get that sound right, if I could record it properly, mix it, master it, and learn that whole thing. And although I wouldn't say, you know, if from being super critical, there'll be people who listen to it, especially people in the industry, and probably think it's a bit of, you know, not the best job. But I think considering the whole thing was just done as my first experience of mixing, mastering, recording every aspect of the songs, I was quite pleased with how it went. And it is a learning process, and it is part of the journey, and it's something that I think eventually will, you know, make you a stronger musician if you can learn that whole process, and you can kind of get the sounds that you like, and you can work it out. So that was quite fun for me, and again, it gave me something to do in lockdown where you know, I had a project to keep me busy and work on. So I was always looking, any time I did find myself with a spare few minutes, I would do some research on Logic Pro X and work out, you know, how to quantize songs and all this kind of stuff. So there was always things that I was doing to keep me busy through that period, and it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, no, that's really great, and I think it is probably something that musicians are going to be doing more now. I think kind of taking control of the process.
That's it, and the beauty of it is as easy today as it's ever been. You know, you don't have to be in a studio, and I know a lot of youngsters, when I speak to them, they're like, oh yeah, I want to make this money and I want to go to this recording studio and spend £1,000 a day, and I'm always like, you don't need to, you know, you don't have to do that. Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry, my little girl came to say
hello.
Nice to meet you.
Me too.
Welcome to
I finished my book. I skipped 70 pages. Just read the last 3.
Actually,
Love it.
Superstar.
Brilliant.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's great.
So,
it's real life.
Yeah, no, it's great. So yeah, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left, because we have basically we try and kind of cut it off just over an hour, so that, you know, when people come back and watch it, it's not like, you know, 2 hours long or something to get through. You know, we normally kind of try and kind of say something positive that's kind of the end of the thing. But I was kind of wondering, we have kind of touched on it before, but what would you kind of say is the key to being a successful musician in 2020? Because it's obviously so different to when we both started now.
Yeah. I think I said this from the start. I say this to everyone. I said, if you're seriously thinking of doing it as a job or a living, you have to love it. You have to love it, and you have to, because if you don't, then there's so much. It will be hard work, and I think if you love it, it comes across to the people, and it comes across in your music, and it comes across in everything you do. If you have that passion for it and you love it, it's because it's the weirdest job in the world. There is no guarantees. There's no right or wrong. You know, every single musician's journey is different. There's no blueprint for what to do. You know, I can't sit here and tell someone how to be a musician, how to have a career, because it's different for everyone. And I think if you don't love it, it will drive you mad, because you'll constantly be wondering what it is that isn't working, or what, you know, and constantly looking for that. Well, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I think there's no right or wrong. Like I say, everyone's music journey is going to be completely different. Mine started off busking in the streets, and somehow it's ended up that I'm playing for a living, and I'm teaching in college. Well, that's going to be completely different to someone else's journey. Some people, you know, some people go on telly overnight and they get everything they want just overnight, and there's no right or wrong. You know, I say to people, the people who talk about X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, and I say to them, you know, I'm not one of these people who says, oh, you know, it's rubbish, don't do it, because for some people, that's their journey. And if that's how you want to do it, and if that's how you feel like you've got a chance, and then go for it. You know, that could be your journey, that could be your way in. You know, that's it. So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice: is if you love what you do, then you'll get there somehow, no matter how long it takes, or what you know, how difficult your journey is. You'll get there, and you'll enjoy the process as well. I mean, that's part of what I think why I'm glad I did it this way, because I've enjoyed the last 20 years. I've enjoyed learning so much about it, and I'm now enjoying passing something on. And as long as you love it and you enjoy it, then somehow it will work for you.
No, I think that's
so right.
So spot on, absolutely spot on.
Because it's really about you know, you being aligned with you. So being true to what comes through for you. What's
exactly.
What's your joy?
And
can't be like someone else's.
That's it. And it's accepting that that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You know, as for as many people that like the stuff you do, there's always going to be people with different tastes, and there's always going to be people. And if you take things too seriously, then some of the negative things that come along with part of the job, you know, some of the comments that people will drop on your YouTube channel, sometimes if you take it too seriously, then those kind of things can affect you. And again, it's one of the things I work with the youngsters is kind of preparing them for. Unfortunately, there's people out there who are just horrible people who are going to say something nasty to you and upset you. You know, that's part and parcel of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that if you love it and if you're prepared for that, and if you accept that, you know, take it for what it is, and it's just something you love, then it doesn't really affect you so badly, because you don't really care what if someone doesn't like your music, because as long as you're doing it, and like I say, being true to yourself and doing it because you love it, well, who cares what other people think, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important for people to hear that, because it is a tough industry, and you have to be true to yourself.
Yeah, well, you put your whole life, these days especially, you have to live your whole life almost, you know, because of social media marketing being what it is.
Yeah.
You're expected to put your whole life in front of the whole world to be judged. And there's no getting away from it. It's very difficult, because you kind of have to do that to be seen and be heard. So you have to get that mentality behind you, and it's a difficult thing if you're not ready. And I think that's part of my worry for the youngsters is I'm lucky that I'm at an age where I kind of got that maturity, I think, where I don't let it affect me. And I do understand that, you know, someone might write a horrible comment on my page, but they might be having a bad day. They might be going through something I don't know about. And I think if you can get that maturity, and if you can understand that, and that's what's difficult to get through to some of these youngsters and some of these ones who think it's a real personal dig at them all the time. And it's not always, you know, you have to kind of just look at it as it is what it is, and be kind of mature enough to just brush it off and ignore it, and not get into arguments with people, and just keep doing what you're doing because you love doing it.
Yeah, man. No,
it's great what age can give you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, wrinkles, I know that much.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
It's been really cool to catch up again, and like hear about just some of the bits of things that you've been doing. We could probably chat for ages about all these things. But no, thank you for joining us and sharing with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to come over to my studio and record a song sometime.
I'd love to, man. Yeah, I just love the look of it. It looks great. Yeah.
We'll get it on, definitely.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
No worries.
So so thank you very much. Chloe, have you got anything to say just before we finish? I know we've got to head off.
I just want to say thank you for coming on and for being so awesome. Like, as I say, your life just sounds sort of a pick a mix of a lot of different things, and it seems like you're making a difference, and that really matters. And it's as Elliot said, there's loads we could talk about. I think well done for being where you are, and thank you for inspiring me.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much, guys. And thank you for all you people that have been tuning in, leaving comments and subscribing to the channel. Please keep watching. We'll be back next week with another show. Thank you.
We will.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.